Well, hello, and welcome to my statutory, and happy Friday if it happens to be Friday that you're watching. My name is Jane from Snapdragon Life, and I'm back from holiday. it was such a wonderful holiday. We decided this year to embrace the idea of slow travel. So we went from Edinburgh to Naples by train and then back again. We started off in Edinburgh and went down to London via the East Coast, which is just the most gorgeous stretch of rail. I mean, you go right along the coast and the cliffs, and you see the waves and the small towns. It's absolutely beautiful. Then we went from London to Paris by the Eurostar, and then from Paris to Milan to Naples, spent a few days in Naples, came back to Florence, then Milan, and then unfortunately all of our trains got cancelled because of France being on strike, so we had to fly back to London and then get the train back up to Edinburgh, arriving yesterday. And it was just lovely because I think probably because we were doing it so slowly in terms of actually getting anywhere, there wasn't a feeling that we should then rush around all of the cities and go and see all of the sites and that kind of thing. We just spent time watching people, maybe going to lesser known museums or sites, spending a lot of time drinking coffee, eating glorious food, wandering around food markets, all this kind of thing. And it was so regenerative for me. It was just, I've come back buzzing and fizzing with ideas, and had such a good time. Now, I did take my camera with me, not to film the whole time, but I wanted to know what it would feel like to actually try and film in a busier space and to put kind of like a narrative to things. And I also wanted to see whether I would be up to filming myself in a public space. Now, it turned out no, I was not up to talking to camera in a public space. I felt like a complete idiot. So instead, I decided I would just film the spaces themselves. And I have put up the first of my sort of like short films on YouTube, which I'll link here. And that was of an afternoon that I spent in the Jardin des Plantes in Paris, which is the botanical garden. And it was a Sunday afternoon. All sorts of people were strolling up and down. There was couples, there was photographers, there were families, there was children playing football, there were people feeding crows. It was just the perfect people watching space. So I filmed that and I've put it together, and it's like 5 minutes long, and I've put it onto YouTube, so you can go and have a look at it there and let me know if you like it, because I've got footage to make another few in the different places that we went to. It would be quite a nice thing for me, even, just to have that kind of family film. And then I came back to really exciting news, that I have been given a grant by, it's called a VACMA grant, so that's Visual Artists and Creative Makers Awards grant, and it is to develop kind of a new body of work for an exhibition that I'm going to be part of in the summer. And it just makes such a difference because it will allow me to devote some time to that and to get all of the materials that I would need to experiment, because it's very, very experimental stuff. So I thought that what I would do is I'll take you down to the studio and you can see it kind of like almost at the beginning of the project. Studio clubbers will have already seen some of the things that I was working on when, to kind of just to work out whether my ideas were viable even. So they've seen the kind of like the initial printings and things. So if you're a clubber, you can see that all in the Studio Notes blog. But here I thought I'd just take the camera down and show you what the studio looks like at the very start of a project, before I begin to layer up all of the inspiration on the boards or do the kind of creative stuff. What's the blank canvas looking like? So I'm going to finish my coffee and then I'll take you down there. Cheers. To get to the studio, come through here, which is a plum orchard, where I've got some daffodils coming out now. And then that beautiful wooden building is my studio. You can see the elder is just about to come out. And here you can see snake's head fritillaries. Again, just about to flower. Now this area here, to kind of the right, which does not look much at the moment, is the perennial meadow. You can see that there are things beginning to come up, and by May it will just be all textures and colours and be wonderful. So these tiles that say Snapdragon are from when I did the Country Living magazine fair in 2005. Right, I'll open the door. So this is my studio. I am incredibly lucky because at one point this was a room that had several staff and it was all kind of warehouse staging things. This was when I had a business where I sold personalised gifts. We would have hundreds of orders a day to get out, and this was really crammed with stock and people working. And then when I stopped that side of the business, I got all of this wonderful space to work with. So, give you a little tour. This is the kind of clean paper and basic ironing spot. That is my heat press, which is what I'm going to be using to make the works for the art gallery. This is my table that I have cleared so that I can begin again. And you can see at the back there is a board, and that's where I'm going to be putting some bits for things that are inspiring me or things that work, things that I'm going to be kind of developing. A drying rack and the fire. And then here, this is where I was looking for suitable bits of fabric, which as you can see is a little bit of a mess. So I thought it might be quite nice just to take you through the bits that I had done before I went off on holiday. This is the kind of book where I'm recording things. This was the first kind of will it actually work, and trying to get temperatures right. At that time I really had very little plant material. So this is oxalis, which I know print well. Oxalis on dyed paper. It's a bit of onion skin. And then this is really the start of things happening. This is a sweet Cicely leaf. That's ace, which I do not like as much. But you can see how sort of mixing the fabric and the watercolour paper and some kind of texturing with the rust is beginning to kind of come into something that's a lot more interesting. Now you know that I am a great fan of the blog, and sometimes I go onto Pinterest and I discover the work of an artist who I really love, and I find that they write a blog and that it takes you through all of the thoughts behind their work and the things that are success and the things that are a failure, and you kind of get much more of a feel for them as an artist or a maker or a gardener, a florist, a chef. You know, there is that whole thing. So when I decided that I would be changing what was in the Studio Club, I decided that I would have 2 new sort of private blogs, so to speak. And one of them is everything to do with the studio, which is largely this project that I'm putting together for an exhibition in the summer, but also other things that I give a go to, you know. So there'll be all of the natural dye things. There'll be things like pressing flowers and using, having a go at making cordage and all of that kind of thing that I do on the side. And there is things for maybe exhibitions that I've visited. So this week I put up some footage of the Gee's Bend quilts, which are currently on display at the Royal Academy in London, which I had wonderful fortune to get to see at the weekend. And I took my camera and I filmed them, and I just put them into the inspiration blog within the Studio Club. And then I have another one that is to do with the garden, and it's really just a way of keeping my garden records. I've always kept fairly good garden records. It's, you know, I used to grow commercially, and it's really, really important when you grow commercially that you don't just rely on faulty memory. And so I have kept that going. And I thought actually, in many ways, it would just be much nicer to have it in a blog format. So there's also exactly what I'm doing in the garden at the time, what fails, what succeeds, what it's looking like right the way through the year. Now the Studio Club is closed at the moment. It opens next Friday, the 7th, which is Easter Friday. And I'm going to be doing a talk next Friday about what the New Look Club is, because it is changing quite significantly. But if you are interested in joining and you would like to know a little bit before that, so you can make your decision in advance, join the waitlist, because I will be contacting people on the waitlist a couple of days beforehand and sending you all of the details, and sort of like having a special link if you wanted to join early. So I'll put all of that underneath here. And in the meantime, I am going to just show you around the garden and our road in the last couple of minutes of this video. And then I will see you next week. If you like the videos, please, please, please subscribe and to the channel. You can click that little bell icon and that notifies you. And comment. I just would love to know what you think. Do you like hearing about the sort of like the backstories of things? Or do you like to see everything just beautifully presented when it's in its final kind of curated form? Anyway, I will see you next week. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.